I didn't know that I had lost my way. Thought everything was gonna be okay, but life was empty. I filled it up and carried on. The pain kept coming, I was going down. I held so tight, kept falling to the ground. I knew I had to change, I knew I had to let it go. And now I've found a better way to wash the ego pain away. And then I found the words to say, I am divine, I am divine. It's always been there, it will never go away. I am divine. I feel so free, remember every day. The moment all the pain was washed away. I shine so bright now, and I want everyone to know. You've got this living deep inside you too, and it's so easy just to feel brand new. Commit surrender to your divinity within. And then you'll see a better way. Things you don't need will fall away. Your eyes will open and you'll say, I am divine, I am divine. It's always been there, it will never go away. I am divine. Oh, I am divine, I am divine. It's always been there, it will never go away. I am divine. It's always been there, it will never go away. I am divine.
Oh, wow.
Greetings.
Welcome.
Welcome to the I'm Divinity podcast.
Yes. Here at Divinity Studios.
We're excited. We're looking forward to our second night here. It's a vibe.
I just had an amazing home-cooked meal here. Some vegetarian curry. Delicious.
Smells good.
Yeah, we're getting comfy here at the studio.
Just want to welcome you all in, all of the returning viewers,
Welcome,
partners.
Powell.
Can we get in the comment section if you're excited for tonight? I am Loveworth.
Hello,
Loveworth.
Tiffany. Michael, LK. Gilbert, Eric. Amy. Great to see everyone. What are we going to talk about today?
So it was interesting because, obviously here if this is your first time viewing this, your first time here,
I feel bad for you.
yeah, you're probably going to be like, what in the world are these guys in the pink and purple suits talking about?
Get ready to rub up against that phobia of the light you have.
Yeah, get ready to get triggered a little bit or a lot of it. But as I just normally, I mean, regardless of with Jamie or not, we like literally have always last 8 months I've been getting like a massage every day, but today I kind of switched it up a little bit. I got a body scrub and then I got a massage. And so as I was getting this body scrub, like I started to feel my skin start to get a little bit irritated. And so I'm thinking, I'm like, wow, like this is such a interesting metaphor for what we do here at I Am Divinity. Like a lot of the times our worth and who we truly are is covered up by all of the dirt, all the dead skin and whatnot. And so as you start to peel back all of these layers, you start to really are able to feel a lot more. And if you've ever seen Don live in person, you notice like his eyes start to get really watery and he starts to cry like in a moment's notice. And so I was like thinking, I was like, wow, like as you start to dissolve all of those false layers, false illusions of who you are, you become a lot more sensitive to everything around you. And so I thought that might be a good way to start this off is like,
Did you surrender?
I surrendered.
Hmm.
I sure did. That's been a theme for me last few days. So I'm like, all right, I hear you. I hear you. Time to surrender. Just accept it for what it is. And
As a
yeah.
recovering narcissist, I know all about surrender.
You never heard that one before. Recovered narcissist. How are you guys doing today? How y'all feeling? Everyone, any updates that you want to share with the stream? Would love to hear what's coming up for you all.
See, Gilbert's getting ready. You go right ahead, Gilbert.
You guys are too funny. I want to start off with woo real quick, and then we'll proceed from there.
Loving the pink, by the way, Gilbert.
Oh yeah, thanks. I've had it in my closet for quite some time. But thank you for noticing. Yeah, no, yesterday was an intensely emotional day. You guys are talking about emotions, and I was like incredibly sensitive. I think today's my 28th day sober from everything. So yesterday was intense. I was just feeling extremely like sad yesterday, and I was just grateful. Like I went to go check the birth certificate, see if the birth certificate was in. Still wasn't, and I was just like, okay, no worries. Since it's in the same mailbox as my neighbor, I went and dropped it off for her, and then she kind of like lifted me up again, and it was it was what I needed. And so I ended up cooking her some lemon pepper chicken, some rice and stuff like that. So she came over and kind of uplifted me, big time. So I really appreciate the community that we have here, because I can see what you mean, Jimmy, by not having the community and how intense it was for you to just be on your own and trying to like push through with all of this. So I'm just deeply grateful for this opportunity. And man, it was just intense. And then last night I had 4 intense dreams. It was of course the ego trying to play with me again and create it like, I'm not sure if you guys seen the movie I Am Legend kind of scenario. So it created something like that, and it was trying to use my dogs this time because all the dog food places were out, and I felt like a failure because I wasn't able to provide the food for them anymore. And they kind of give me like that look, like, we can't trust you no more, master, kind of. And then they ended up just like bailing on me. I was like, that's messed up. And I just remember seeing them again like weeks later. I don't know how much time passed, but in my dreams it feels like forever. And sometimes I wake up extremely exhausted. But I saw them again, and this time they looked all deranged, and they didn't look like my dogs no more. And I just remember them biting one of my hand, and the other one biting my other hand, and that's when I woke up from that one. The second one was a little too private, and I might share that personally with you guys over there. But not probably not in life, because it has had my whole family, the whole synopsis. Just paraphrasing, just I was trying to do my divinity in the morning, and then like it was constant. Like they were just trying to like prevent me from trying. I'm not saying that they will. I'm just saying it was what was going on in the dream. They were preventing me from, hey, Mijo, I need you to do this. I need you. I was like, well, no, no, no. I was like, this is my number one. Like, this is, I kept trying to like be firm with it, but then it just created this huge chaotic dysfunction going on in the house. And that's why I would run away at like 15, 16. And I didn't care being at the house. But he kind of like tried bringing all that up to show me like, that's the kind of function that was over there and still kind of lingering over there somehow. And then and like you guys said about the ego always trying to get to the kill you part, right? So one of my brothers, the one that I love, the one that was teeter-tottering on the thing, you know, that one, he's saying, oh, I got a migraine, can you stop with your little emotional fit, this is and that. And he went back to the room and he came back out again because I was just like a little upset that I'm like, yo, I just fought my divine focus, please. And he came out again. He goes, I want to kill you. Like he said that. And then I just turned around and I said, I am. And then I woke. Thank God he gave me the ability to freaking get out of that dream. But I kid you not, I'm doing it in my dream now. It's kind of crazy. But I'm grateful that I was able to get out of it, you know. And then the next dream, it brought me back to the apocalyptic kind of, you know, scenario again. And I just remember going into this three-story three-story motel that had like it had grass and all sorts all around it, like maybe like an acre or two of grass and fields and stuff like that. And I just remember going inside and then I was being tempted because there was a lot of people who just looked abandoned. So all the doors were open. And the crazy thing is that there was no doors on any of them. It was like you can see the rooms like just open, like all of them were open. And it was kind of strange because it had like all the snacks, all the sweets again, trying to tempt me. It was intense. And I remember seeing a bunch of people there that looked like they were scared, you know? And so I just went over there and I tried doing the best I can to shine the light. And I do remember talking to them and telling them, I said, hey, there's plenty of land outside. I was like, we don't have to struggle, guys. I have all the seeds. Trust me, I've been saving them up for years. I got the seeds. And then they got excited and I went around and I just started looking for more people that were like stragglers that didn't want to abandon their apartment or their place. And I brought them all together and I said, hey guys, we can figure out a way. I've done it over here by myself on this land. I was like for 2 years on my own and I was able to sustain, you know, throughout the whole year. I was like, with all with with all the manpower we have here, I was like, yo, we're gonna have more than enough. And if anybody else comes out from other places, we'll have more than enough. I just remember, um, and like the rest of that, I was instructed not to say. I'm not sure where everybody's at with their ego or if they're, so I was just instructed to save the rest of this for the foundation of the new earth with you guys in person. So that rest of that, I can't give any of those other plans away because I already know how destructive the ego is and sabotaging. So the rest of it needs to stay in private, and with the people that have already worked through their ego, and that's where I'm gonna stay with that. But it's beautiful. That's all I can say. And there's a plan. We're all finally tapping into it, and everything I did over here wasn't in vain. It was preparing me for the new earth and the foundations of the new earth. And because this company is going to succeed, I've always had precognition, so I know it's going to happen. And that's why I said I'm running like a racehorse. And I'm looking forward to raising the frequency with you all and creating the new foundation. It's just the finances, that's just been my biggest I guess the wrench in the you know what I mean, the wrench in the clock or whatever. But I feel like this year is going to be something different, and because I've been feeling so different, and I'm just grateful for you guys, and I'm looking forward to building this new earth with y'all. Thank you.
and Gilbert.
Still muted.
Are we good? Are we muted still or no?
Unmute, please.
Unmute,
Okay.
sir.
Okay.
Okay. All right, not you.
Oh wait. Oh. Okay.
Sorry, we're just making.
Oh,
We're still working this. The new IAMDIVINITY studios. We got our sound engineers in the background, making sure that we're good. But yeah, thank you as always, Gilbert, for sharing. And Jamie and here just are just sitting here and we're like listening to you night after night, just really just pouring your heart out. And we already know this year is gonna be huge for you, bro. Like we already know. Like complete shift. Like here in the next few months, you're gonna be living in I mean, you're already in a different reality, right? So the outside circumstances are just gonna reflect that. So we're really looking forward to see all of your impact and then success that's gonna follow it. So thank you once again, Gilbert. Anyone else want to share? People, because we really want to, as much as we
I
love
see
hearing
Newest in the
Gilbert,
house.
we wanna make sure that everyone is stepping out of their old ego programs of staying small.
How you doing, Noah?
Hey guys, I'm great. I'm great. Thank you. Um, Man, it feels so good to be back in my divinity. You know, and thanks, Gilbert, for sharing. You know, it's funny because I was like, the way I've been jumping on these calls, um, I'd always just wake up. My alarm is always set like right at 7:50 a.m. So I wake up, jump on the, barely like wipe my face and just jump on the call. And then I was like, I gotta quit doing that. I need to wake up like an hour early so I make sure I get my divine focus in first before I jump on the call, because because we're on for about, out 2 hours and then I get off and then I'll forget, and it's been ever so this morning I woke up at like 2 hours early. And then I was like, oh my gosh, time went so by. And I was like, you got to do your divine focus. And I literally saw the time. It was 8 o'clock or it was like 7:50. But I was like, nope, I got to do at least a minimum of 10 minutes. But what I've learned is like, don't let your minimum be your maximum. Don told me, he's like, you guys minimum, or we're only asking 10 minutes. I do 3 hours. And I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, that's so true. And Jamie has done 3 hours, and I saw that, before I got to the Philippines, and I saw a big difference. I was like, man, just the way Jamie was talking about, he loved it. Like he doesn't even time himself anymore. He just does it. And it was like for something that's so important as our divinity, why why are we making it a big fuss to do it 3 times a day? Right when you wake up, sometime in the middle of the day, and then right before you go to sleep, for something that's so important. And the way I equate it to is like when there's a movie, when I like going to watch a movie, if it starts at 7 p.m., I'm there like at 6:15 because I want to get my popcorn, my drink, and I'm like, and that movie's not going to do anything for my life, right? But my divinity, and I'm sitting there sometimes, and it's the ego. I'll just do it later, do it later. Next thing you know, it's like the whole day went by and you only did it once. So I've learned. So, like, literally this morning, I set all my alarms on my phone to make sure that it hits at a particular time. And then I remember, hey, you stop what you're doing and go do, I don't like to say minimum 10 minutes and just go do your divine focus, because I want to get to the level to where I'm just like Jamie, and I know Sam's probably doing like where you don't even time yourself, because the way I was doing it before, I'm like peeking, looking at the time. Oh, I'm only 7 minutes. Okay, 3 more minutes, and it's like, dude, quit doing that. It's so stupid. Like, really, you're gonna sit there and try to do it to the T, and because it's taking you out of your focus. And I'm like, So like before I'd set the alarm or I'd set the stopwatch and I'd go into my divine focus and lock in. And then I'd peek and look, oh darn it, I'm at 3 minutes. Oh, I only have, 2 minutes left. And I was like, I could just hear Jamie and Don telling, no, cut that shit out. Okay. Just do your divine focus. And so today I didn't even look at my clock and I did it. And I kid you not, my mental time in my head when, by the time I opened it was right at 10 minutes and 51 seconds. And I was like, oh wow, that's amazing, Okay, cool. And then I jumped on. I jumped a little late, but I jumped in right when Gilbert was talking. And I love how he said in his dream, he's even doing the divine focus and putting the two together and interlocking, because that reminds me of when I had the shivers. And then the minute I did it, boom, my shivers stopped. Like it was a switch. And I was like, "Damn, that's crazy." Then I was acting like a little kid, that goes and turns on and off the lights, over and over. I kept doing that just to see if I would shiver or not shiver. And it worked every time. Like, okay, no, quit being a little kid. Like, the shit works. You just cut it out. So, and then when I talked to Don and, I was good. I did a thing and, had the update from Jamie. And um, just to let you guys know, if anyone's on the call that's new, this thing works. Being in your divinity works. Like it's ineffable. Look that word up. And that's why when I first got done with the divine, my session with Don on Divinity Mountain, and then the next day, like James said, hey, come up and share. And I just sat there like staring at the camera, like, I don't even know how to put this into words. Like it's ineffable. Like I don't, and they were laughing because they're like, yeah, you're in your divinity because I can talk, but I had nothing to say. I didn't even know how to translate it into tongues, into the language where anyone would understand. And I speak two languages. I speak English and Tongan, and I couldn't even put it in Tongan, let alone in English, and I'm like, I I don't know what to say, but I feel it. I can feel it, but I didn't know how to translate it into words. So that being said, man, this is anyone who's on the fence, get off the okay, I'll have to say it nicely, get off the fence and just do it. Just test it out. There's so much generational BS and that I have in my culture, my family that I need to get rid of. And I swear that this I am divinity is the truth. Like it's, and it's just like Shan talks about how he used to be Muslim, and he's very right. I have a Muslim friend that I love dearly, and they're very, I mean, 3 days, he prays 3 times a day and he sets his alarm. And I was like, wow, I was kind of equating that. Like I never prayed 3 times a day, but I can do this. I am, divine focus 3 times a day. Why? Because I've seen the results, like for myself, for my own eyes and my own soul, my own being. And then I surrounded myself with Jamie, Sam, Will, and Dawn. So there's like I could never take that away. It's like Jamie's friend that couldn't walk, and then he ended up running. Like to me, I'm like, how could you ever say that never happened? Like, what was, but you know what it is? It's the ego. It is the ego. And I know it's hard to, if you're a first time listener, it's hard to like grasp that. But when you're hanging out with Jamie and then, I lived with them basically and seen their daily lives. The person you see on this stream, Jamie and Sam and Don, that's what you see in real life. Like it's not an acting I mean, if it is, these guys they earn all the awards and Grammys, but it's not. I was with them straight for like 7, 8 days straight, every single day. Worked out with them, was with them even when the cameras were off, and they're the same person. Like it's not an act. It's not. There's nothing malicious about who they are or nothing. And I've seen little bit of transformations because they're in their divinity. Like when he talks about his brother and brought him out there, and then Jamie's just smiling, just a big old smile, like, yeah, I brought him out here and he decided he didn't want to do it. And, for me as a big brother, I'm like, hey, here, MFer, get your butt over here and take I'm going to force it on you. And that's not what it's about. These guys aren't forcing anything on anyone. But what they're doing is providing something, in my opinion, every single soul and person in this world needs this. And that's why I love that they're going to do 100 people to go from two whatever to 700. It's going to be what I think that equals what 50 or 70 billion or something like that. And it will definitely, I mean, I'm excited. So I'm ineffable, right?
Wow, Nua. Appreciate that. Let me help you with the divine focus a little bit. So you recall that moment you finished with Dawn on Divinity Mountain, and I wasn't in your process, but I can imagine that. Well, you tell me, how was it the best moment you had ever felt? Has there been more moments similar? If so, how many? Oh, you're muted, bud.
Oh, sorry. Um, so after like how I felt after the transformation,
Yeah, is that the best you've ever felt, or did you feel it before? And if so, how many times?
you know what? I have not felt that. It almost feels like in a lifetime, probably since I was a kid. And he hit upon it. He said, Noah, you hardened your heart the day your mom passed away when I was 9 years old. And I love my mom so much. He was right. It's almost like I always knew in my heart, but I really didn't know until he said those words. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense on why my heart was hardened and I never really, I was like wondering why. I tell my wife, I love you so much and I'm in love with you. And then why are my actions not showing it in some ways? And when he said that, it answered everything to me. So to answer that question you're saying, I never felt that since I was 9. Like it was life changing because ever since I've been back, my wife has seen the changes to where she doesn't want to say anything because she thinks she might jinx it and it might go back, which is true. You as much as you can be in your divinity, and this was Don said, he says you can lose it. And that's why he called me and checked on me. And oh man, I was so, and Jamie texted me too and was like, no,
You
quit
can't
your
lose it.
BS. So,
You can't lose it, Nua. You can give it up, though.
yes, yes. So that's the wording. Yeah, not lose it, but giving it up. And he's like, no, you gave up 90% of it because you're making excuses, and that's the ego. And I'm like, shoot. So I jump back on it. I put in all my alarms, and basically I prioritize this as the very top. It's like my number one every single day. It's like I have to do it no matter, I don't care how busy I am, I'm going to do it. So yesterday was my second day fully back, making sure I do it 3 times and journaling it. And one of the things Jamie told me is like, hey, no, you want to, a great way of thanking me for coming out here. And I go, yeah, what's that? He's like, journal, put it in the thread. And I was journaling, but I was like, oh, I got to put it in thread, because it really holds you accountable. When I put it in my own personal notes, it's like, oh, that's only for me. But when I'm more of a private person, so I had to learn how to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And Jamie said that. I'm like, oh, I think he meant put it in the actual thread because who's it going to help if I have it just for my own personal notes? It's not going to help anyone but me as a reminder. But when I put it in the personal one, I'm seeing people replying, oh, thanks for sharing. And he's right, because when I read like Gilbert's updates or when I read there's a lady in there that puts in, I was like, man, I'm glad she shared that. That's why he has us do this. there was a reason. And when someone put in the chat, like, oh, can I just do one time a day for 1 hour? And I was like, man, you're missing the point. There's a reason why Jamie and Don them say do it 3 times a day and journal it. There's a reason. They have the recipe. Don't try to like make it more easier for you because it's convenient. Living in your divinity is not convenient. Living in your divinity is a lifestyle, you know. So because I was thinking the same thing. Oh yeah, that's a great idea. Let me just knock it all up in one time. Not like I can already hear Jamie's voice. I'm like, hey, quit with the BS, Noah. Do it 3 times a day, okay? And if you want to do minimum of 10, okay, fine. But I'm not going to let my minimums be my maximums. And, you know, I'm just going to just let it flow. And if it's an hour, so be it. But it's definitely not going to be less than 10 minutes. I'll tell you that for sure, you know. So, yes, a great question, Jamie. I have not felt that since 9 years old, October 14th, 1985, when my mom passed away. Um, and one thing that one thing that Don said that really hit home for me is he says, Noah, do you think your mom would want you to make your heart hardened the minute she passed away? And I already knew. It was almost like my mom was talking to me, like, no, no, definitely no. You know, and I for those of you that have not gone through the process, um, I didn't tell Don that much. I told him basic, just very basic. But the way he answered me and the things he was telling me, as if I poured out my whole life to him, like, you know, there's nothing fake about that. Nothing. So he is very in tune with the universe, with his divinity. And and mind you, for those that don't know, it was only like 45 minutes. It was under an hour. And I was able to understand why I am instantly. It was crazy. Like, I know people say, oh, well, you don't have to go through. Yeah, you can go through it, but that's my testimony. That's because that's what happened to me. Sam was there, Jamie was there, the beautiful birds were there, the air that's up on Divinity Mountains, a little different. When you're in your divinity, everything's different. The taste of the mango. I came home and we're Tongan, so we love mangoes. And I was telling, dude, I ate like 15 mangoes when I was on that mountain. And guess what? It was almost like I was tasting mango for the first time. It was so good. And they're like, Philippines aren't known for mangoes. And I'm like, I don't care what they're known for. That mango was good, you know? They're like, what's so special about their mangoes? And I was like, I don't know what it was. You know what it is? It's the Divinity mangoes. It's on Divinity Mountain. So go get you some Divinity mangoes. It's not even sold anywhere but on IAMDIVINITY. Just join in and don't take my word for it, man. But you have to experience it. Like, it was just it's weird. It's ineffable. It's amazing. So thank you so much, Jamie. And Gilbert, I don't know, hurry up and get whatever you need done. You need to get to I know he wants to get there, but like, you want to experience this. Anyone out there, you want to experience. But Jamie did say, no, you didn't have to come all the way to the Philippines to get your divinity. And I go, yeah, I know, but I wanted to get out. I needed to leave. I needed to surround myself with you because I'm like, I'm a needy guy, right? I don't want to just do it on a Zoom call because when I'm done, I'm like, damn, now what am I gonna do? But being with Jamie, and oh my gosh, he blessed me with a 4-hour ride with Dawn, driving to just me and Dawn. I was like, whoa. And we had some like serious, great conversations, man. I was just like, damn, man, I get 4 hours with this guy, And it's so funny just to be with, I didn't want to ask so many questions, but he was like, bring it. And he drives like an Indy 500 in Philippines. So I'm like white knuckle gripping my seat. I'm like, oh, damn, there's a car coming. And then I just realized that's how they drive here in the Philippines. But was I scared? I was scared, but I didn't want to show him I was scared, But he's probably laughing, like, Noah probably needs to go change his underwear, man. The way I'm driving. I was just like, but I was like, in a weird way, I was scared, but I was peaceful because I was like, holy smack! All these conversations that him and I were having were like, this guy doesn't know me, but it felt like I've known him my whole life. It was weird. And Jamie's the one that's, hey, this is what you came for, right? Yeah. Because I was thinking I'm gonna wake up in the morning. So just kind of backtrack a little bit. I'm sorry I'm taking too much time, but he was saying like, hey, the whole Divinity Mountain trip, it was just on the spot. Like it just brought up, and then Jamie just goes, hey, you got the Starlink? Okay, hey, you got the tent? We'll get some tents. All right, guys, tomorrow, we're going. And then I was thinking, they were going to leave later. And I was like, oh, good. I get to sleep in a little bit and I'll go. And then, but Don was like, no, I'm leaving at 8 a.m. And then he's like, no, you go with him. You should go with him at 8 a.m. And I was like, and he's like, hey, you wanted this, right? And I'm like, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So I woke and mind you, this is like 3, 4 a.m. in the morning because it's late over there in the Philippines, so they can do this for all of us here in America and elsewhere. And I'm like, shoot, yeah, I'll go to sleep and wake up in 2 hours and get ready. So, and I thought I was even tired on the ride. I was not tired. I was, and basically I'm saying this because when we're with people that are in their divinity, and you're gravitating towards them, there's no way you're sleeping. You want to take every single second and minute and value that. And that's what I did with Jamie or with Don, and it was an amazing 4-hour ride. Like it really only felt like 30 minutes because when we hit the mountain, and he has a big 4-wheel drive lifted six, because it's rough terrain. I was kind of like, dang man, I wish I had another hour with him before we got here. I'm like, hey, can we take the scenic route around the mountain and then come back? But it was really good, and I was really grateful and thankful. So yeah, thank you, Sam and Don and Jamie and
Thank you,
Will.
Nua. Thank you, Nua. So I just wanted
Love you,
to
buddy.
say something, because you said something earlier, and just for everyone that's listening to this call, you said it's like, oh, the divine focus is, being in your divinity isn't convenient. And it made me think, I was like, what's more convenient, taking like 10 minutes to an hour to be in your divinity, or living a lifetime of trauma and stress and toxic programs? Because I know for a fact, like, I would sit there, do meditations all day, and then like still had all my toxic shit.
In between joints.
Yeah, in between joints, and then still dealing with all the bullshit. So it's like, wow, okay, like you don't even really need to. You live in complete eternal bliss in this present moment, and it's like all it's asking for you is to just invest a little bit of time. Like, wow, like.
Well, let's break this down, okay? I think this will be interesting for everyone. And thank you, Nua, for being so open, man. I know it's helping a lot of people. So let's break this down. You're saying it took about 45 minutes, maybe an hour, with Dawn on the mountain for you to go through the whole process. And you hadn't felt that good at least before the age of 9. So it's been from age 9 to what age are you now?
Uh, 40. Man, I stopped counting after 27. So I was born in 76. What am I? I'm gonna say what Don says. I'm I'm uh,
Forever
uh,
young, Noah.
I'm forever young. Sorry, I'm forever young. But for you Earthlings, I'm
Just for measurement's sake.
46, 47. I was born in 76, so November. So whatever that is, 47.
Okay, so
47?
a few decades. You haven't felt that good for a few decades, and then you experience it in less than an hour. Now, so first of all, is there anything that's more valuable to you than feeling that amazing?
Man, nothing. And Don said it to me. He said, Noah, nothing's more important right now than your divinity, right? You have to do this at the top. And the reason I say that is because um, when I'm in my divinity, I'm at my finest for the people I love the most, which is my wife and my kids. So that's why, because he did say, even before your family, before get this done. And when I was thinking, I was like, wait, nothing comes before my family. Well, if I'm not in my divinity, I'm not at my finest. And I can't be at my finest. I can't be at my best if I'm not in my divinity, if that makes sense. And so when I thought about it like that, when Don said it, I was like, oh, he's so right. And I kid you not, sometimes I'm thinking like, hey, what time is it, man? I got to hurry up and do my divine focus, because I want to make sure I'm on top of things. So I understand what he's saying when he says that.
Yeah. What I'm saying is you are 1 second away from feeling the best you've ever felt since 9 years of age. And you're still having to set an alarm to do that.
Yeah, I think my brain works a little different or something. I think
I'm just
I
I'm just
do.
teasing you, Noah. I'm just teasing you.
Oh, okay.
I gave it up
I was like,
much more than you did, so this
okay.
is this is not a judgment. But what I'm saying is, everything that we've been conditioned to chase out in the external world is for nothing more than to feel better, right? Feel good. And you have a tool now through this process to do your divine focus. And all that is Nua, sit in the best feeling you've had since the age of 9 for minimum 10 minutes. So it's shifting from, man, I got to do this to make sure I keep it, to like, what else would I rather do than sit in this absolute amazing state? And then, like you said, everything that you do after that, whether it's interacting with your family, you're at your absolute best.
And thank you for bringing that up, Jamie. That's probably the best question I've had because I didn't even realize that until now. Because I didn't even know what it felt like. It's been so long. I When you asked that question, I was like, holy crap. I had to take it way back, 30, almost 40 years back, 38 years or 37 years, whatever it is. I had to take it that back because I don't even recall other than that was at my happiest moment. So thank you for that question. It's awesome.
You're awesome, man. And let me just tell everyone that the the times that I gave it up, I was just telling my mom today. She messaged me. She was still on that. I'm gonna die, and everyone in the family is gonna get taken hostage, and it's all your fault, and you're a narcissist, and all this. And I called her. Wasn't gonna go back and forth with that at all. So I called her, and within 3 seconds, I had her laughing about the entire thing, like just absolutely laughing about it because I was not giving up my light to go there. And she witnessed that in about 3 seconds. I was laughing so hard at the whole thing, and just like showing her how ridiculous it is, and the ego just trying to get attention. And then we had an amazing call, and then she went back into a couple times like, oh well, they made me feel this way, and I said, no, mom, you decided to give up your power to that. You decided to give up your light. Like, oh man, you're right. I said, how many times have you given up your light in your life? And as Neo just said, since the age of 9, hasn't really accessed that full light. And that's what every single one of us did when we had a trauma, whether it was 9 or 5 or 3 or 2 or in the womb. We made that decision that I never want to feel this pain again. So then we turn off the one thing that allows us to go beyond the pain, which is us being in our light. And so then we just unraveled this whole toxic cycle of nothing but pain, creating painful situations, blaming it on everything outside of us, and yet we were just creating it nonstop for being outside of our light. And I want to really share with everyone that it's not the ego that's so powerful. It's not. It's like what talking about with Nua, it's him just not sitting in his divine focus. That's his decision. He has 100% of the power to do that or not do that. And every time I've experienced it myself, every time you don't, you're giving up the power. Next thing the ego's, in. But I've used this reference analogy a few times that it's just like going into a room, flicking the light switch. When you turn the light on, no darkness can exist. So the ego cannot exist when you turn that light switch on. It's only when you turn the light switch off. And guess who is in control of the freaking light switch? Is it, your spouse or your kids or it's nobody, it's nothing outside of yourself. And so it's your decision to make that. But let me tell you how bad it had to get to me. And I told my mom, I said, I'm just so grateful that my patterns weren't like lukewarm. Like I'm so grateful of how toxic my patterns were. Like I was like smoking weed every day, alcohol every day, so that when I went into the divinity, now it was weeks and months without smoking weed and drinking alcohol. And then as soon as I stopped doing the divine focus, next thing you know, I'm drinking nonstop and almost killed myself from binge drinking. So it was really clear for me. It's like, Jamie, it's not your light that's going to kill you. It's you not being in your light that's going to kill you. And after that experience, I didn't have a phobia to my light anymore. I had a phobia to not being in my light, if anything. And so making that shift is so crucial. But if you're living like a lukewarm, pattern where it's, oh, I'm not an alcoholic like Jamie was. I have wine on the weekends, but no big deal. I wasn't a weed addict like Sam. I smoke once a month, no big deal. I'm not struggling, broke, living in my car like Jamie has a few times. I'm not there. I got a comfortable job. I don't really like it that much, but it pays the bills. That's the danger zone, that lukewarm existence. So I'm just grateful for me that it was like so intense that it was life or death. It was like I need to go 100% in with this, because leaving 1% on the table and I'll be drinking nonstop at the strip clubs in no time and killing myself on a motorcycle. You know?
Yeah, this is what we were just talking about earlier, actually. It's like those people that are kind of in the middle. They're not like uncomfortable yet, because that's usually that main factor that makes people create a decision like, I'm gonna be in my light no matter what. It's usually an extreme. Either you're like really, really struggling, or you've reached like the highest levels of success. That's why, with Don, and he's worked with 8 multi-billionaires, they've gone and they've already hit every single quota of success. And so they realize like, oh wow, like I've already gotten everything I thought was going to make me happy, and I'm still miserable. So what is it that I need? And so the answer is divinity. It is your divinity that's going to help you truly live in this blissful state that everyone's looking for. Whether you're smoking weed, or you're chasing after, different women, or for the girls, guys, or whatever your preference is, animals, I don't know. Money, it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, it is your divinity that you're looking for. And something that Jamie said, which it brought me to this Instagram post that I saw today, and it was really interesting. It was the moment the sperm and the egg meet, and what happens is literally there is literally light that is formed in the womb. And so if you need any more, and maybe I'll find that and we can play it one of these days. But literally, you are that light that we are talking about. That is who you are. You are this divine light. Even on, like, it's not just metaphorical. That's literally who you are. And so getting out of that, that is, like Jamie talked about this before. I recently have found out about this. Having that trauma in the womb, and just shutting your light off from that moment on, and being afraid that, I can't be in my light because I will die. And so would you say that's something that a lot of people have experienced? Like, being in,
Yeah, it was for me. In that moment that my mom realized she was pregnant, first of all, she'd had a miscarriage before me. And so the immediate shock is, oh, this one's going to die. Yeah, we're so powerful that yes, we are pure electric, like we're an electric being. We're pure electricity. Imagine electricity having a phobia to electricity. Like, how freaking ridiculous does that sound? And we're experiencing this electricity through different containers. It's no different than the electricity, the source of the power going into the toaster. The toast. You're not the toaster. You're the electricity. But yeah, I recall one of my good friends at the time. He was one of those guys that, like, people would know if I mentioned his name in the industry. Like, he's a big deal in marketing, and he had just come off a year of 30 million or so. He did that year, and I introduced him to Don. Come to find out, the dude was so depressed. He was in multiple lawsuits, and he ends up going through the process with Don over Zoom. And he hit me up after, and he said, "Man, that was the most powerful experience I've ever had." And then Don interviewed him after for a testimony, and Don asked him, like, when the last time he had felt that moment. Or no, it was actually in his process. Sorry, I watched the recording of his process, and he couldn't recall any moment of bliss in his entire life. And reached out to me after, saying it was the first time in his life that he had felt that amazing. And of course, come to find out, he turned it off in the womb. So ever since birth, he was living in that toxic ego energy. Which the ego just convinces you it's protecting you by killing you. If you want to know how twisted it is, that's it. I'm protecting you from the pain by killing you from your light, which is the one thing that will unravel all the pain. So you just end up creating the pain over and over and over again.
Yeah, it's so interesting. The ego is so conniving and so twisted that it's like, hey, I'm gonna keep you from experiencing this pain again, but really what it's doing is keeping you from experiencing your light. And I've had a lot of people recently, because they've been obviously watching our streams and stuff. They've been seeing what I post, and like, no, like, you need to balance. You need to balance the ego and the personality. And I'm like, well, that's the thing that's been giving you all of the pain, all of the heartache, all of the toxic programs. There is no negotiating with the ego. You're either all in or you're all out. There is no middle ground. Like I said this on the other day. Like, this guy had a crazy amazing transformation, and the next day he decides to give it up. He messages me the next day. He's like, "Hey, have you ever watched The Passion of the Christ?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I watched it like over 10 years ago." And he's like, I believe that you have to balance the ego. And then he's like, "Oh, but Jesus was like this pure being, like he was unconditional love, blah blah, and I want to be like him." And I'm like, what kind of sense does that make? I'm like, you want to be like Jesus, and he was at this level of pure, energy. I forgot the exact words he used, but you want to negotiate with the ego. That doesn't work. You're either all in or you're all out. And a lot of the times we just don't have a process. And that's why here at I Am Divinity, we are the only community that has a process that helps you have an instant and a permanent transformation. And what do I mean by that? Basically, with this process, you can be free of all pain, all suffering, all trauma, all phobias, all limiting beliefs, and live in an ineffable state. And what ineffable means is it's a state so great, so extreme that it cannot be put into words. And so if you're on this call and this is maybe your first time, maybe you've been searching, looking, you've probably looked in so many different religions, just like I have, just like Jamie has, different personal developments, transformational workshops, literally like in every philosophy. You've probably been looking for something. And so what I want you to know is that here at I Am Divinity, we have something for you. And I want you to know that your search is over. So
Slacking. The cue is
slacking.
off.
The cue is very off. So enjoy this video.
Good evening, good afternoon, good morning. My name is Don Smith. That's Don with 2 N's. And I'm here to share with you what I've developed over 44 years that I call I Am Divinity. I say that I Am Divinity because I'm divine and so are you. No matter what you've done and what you haven't done, you are divine, you always were and you always will be. And it gets all covered up. And so all of those trips to the personal developments and all of those things, and they don't hold. And did you ever question yourself instead of just going back and getting the next one and the next one and the next one and none of them hold? Well, there's a reason for that. A very big reason is because you're working at a belief level of who you think you are. That's what beliefs are, both negative and positive. They're who we think we are. So going from a negative belief to a positive belief is not the answer whatsoever. It's about the knowing of who we truly are. There's knowing. It isn't a belief. And so all of these ideas of doing this and all of those trips to the wherevers, it's like dealing with a piece of something. But this is not a piece of anything. This is the total knowing of who you are. And what I've developed over this 44 years is a process that's instant and it's permanent. Now, the permanent comes in by you doing something for holding it. But I'm telling you, there's people have this for years and it's instant. And how do I say that with such boldness? Well, put it in the category of a phobia. 90% of the population has a phobia of something. Bugs, snakes, rats, heights, water, whatever. And my question to you is, how long did it take for you to create that phobia? Yes, you're right. 1 instant. And yet everybody questions me about that. And yet that's all it took. 1 instant. So now what I did was I reverse engineered near-death experiences and phobias to find out how they worked, and I reverse engineered it. So if you can create a phobia in a second, and most times it's before the age of reason, which is 4, 5, 6. Think about that. At that young of an age, that in 1 second you created a lifetime phobia. Well, it's a lifetime phobia because you're holding on to it for protection. That's how the ego works. It's going to get you to hold on to something that's harmful for you so it can keep you aware in case it happens again. That's how toxic your ego is. And it's not your ego, it's the ego. Sorry, my mistake. Because you are much more than an ego. And so what it's about is if you create it in a second, why would it take any longer than a second to reverse it if you knew how you did it? That's what I do. That's one of the pieces. And then the other is the permanentness of it all. Well, I'm going to ask you a question. What color are your eyes? What color are those eyes of yours? Now you tell me how long you had that color. Yeah, your whole life. That's permanent. Would you agree? But look at the permanentness of a phobia. You had it from age 4 to 84. That's 80 years. You'd think that was permanent. But it was created in a second, and you can reverse it in a second. So it's not. That's what I'm saying. So that's what we're talking about. Something that's instant, something that's permanent, and it's about who you truly are. Your divinity, your divine. Don't ever forget it. Always remember it. And all of these other things are happening because you have an attachment to the personal development system of beliefs and changing a belief from a negative to a positive. It's not going to hold. It will not hold. Yes, there will be improvements. Congratulations on doing that. That's searching. I'm talking about a shift from this to a shift from this. Who we're not to who we are. And then doing a simple exercise. Takes 5 minutes, 3 times a day to hold it. And there you have it. That's it. That's who you are. That's why it's like the color of your eyes. The color of your eyes has been that way all this time, and you still have that color. Well, it's the same. Who you truly are is permanent. Who your beliefs are not, because it's not true. No matter how much you believe, the negative or the positive about those beliefs, they're false. And so, I'm here to share with you to go on a journey under 2 hours. Now I'm talking about, like I've worked with 15 different pro athletes or Olympians, okay? That's just in sports. And then mega billionaires, millionaires, and health, cancer. You know, one guy, yeah, I met him in the garbage room in Vancouver. I opened up the door and there he is. And he's so gray and he's humped over and he's like, you think he was going to die any second. I said, holy shit, man, you don't look too good. What's going on? He said, oh, I got prostate cancer. I've had it for 16 months. I've had 32 radiation treatments. And I don't know how much time I have. I said, don't listen to that bullshit. Can I ask you a few questions? Within that 15 minutes, I had asked him all these questions. And all I knew about him was his name was Al. 3 weeks later, I get a call from him. The same guy. He said, hi, Don, this is Al Valjanic. I met you in the garbage room 3 weeks ago. Yeah? Well, I don't have any cancer. Now, I could fill this room with those stories. Fill this room with those stories. And you can access this magnificent, powerful, divine energy called IAMDIVINITY. And what's natural about it, it matches who you truly are. That's the key. Isn't that exciting? Isn't that exciting that you will know who you are and it will override and supersede who you think you are? Now, if you're tied up with that persona that you've developed, in a second, I might add, and kept it all this time, like I just worked with a guy that when he was 9, his mom died, and he decided to harden his heart. And he hardened his heart the next 40 years. And that's what all his issues were about. We went back, cleaned that up, boom, it's gone. All the symptoms were all gone. That's how easy it is, and that's how simple this is. So if you want to continue with your hard work and all of those kind of things, and going back and paying for this again, that again, and this again, and the counseling and the therapy and coaching and all of that, go ahead, by all means. But if you want to be free, free to be you, free to be who you truly are. And those eyes, every time you look in the mirror, it will remind you how magnificent you are. And that's how this process is about, whether it's in an individual or whether it's in group. And I welcome you to join us in this journey of raising humanity's consciousness from its existing 210 to 700. That's right, you heard it right. 210 to 700. So it's an awesome journey. We're looking for 100 that are willing to go to 700 to raise humanity's consciousness. So I welcome you, and I'll see you on our journey.
Now back to our regularly scheduled program. I am Divinity Studios. Just kidding. So yeah, as you saw Don explaining what we're doing here, the mission is to bring humanity's consciousness up to a level 700. Currently, it's sitting at about,
Which is your natural state, by the way.
which is our natural state. But yeah, currently it's sitting at about 210, maybe a little bit above that, maybe a couple points here and there.
I think I got 3 points from Tony Robbins' seminar.
But you just said something interesting, like, right, that's our natural state. And I gave this example the other day. The reason why we're in so much suffering is because of trying to force things. Like he just talked about that in the video, like the personal development, the seminars, whether it's Tony Robbins or Bob Proctor or whoever. We're trying to force things. We're trying to utilize our intellect, our mind, to solve a problem that the mind created. And so imagine a cork floating on the surface of water. And all of us have had a moment in time, an energetic anchor. For me, I found out it was in the womb. Same for Jamie. A lot of you is probably in the womb, but it's 100%. I'd say let's say 99.9% just for the intellect before the age of 7. And so that anchor holds you down in these lower levels of frequency. Can we get that frequency chart up? Just so they can get
Coming right up, sir.
Coming right up. So basically, we're a lot of you are being dragged down to these lower levels of frequency. And so as you do this process, what ends up happening is you get rid of that energetic anchor. And so go back to the image of the cork. A lot of the times it's like almost like you're forcing it down, you're pushing it down. You let go of that anchor, you just float right back up to this amazing, ineffable feeling of quote unquote enlightenment. And so that is your natural state. It's just that we've been
Anything
programmed.
lower than 700 is you putting the dimmer switch on your light.
The
Okay.
dimmer switch. That's a nice.
The dimmer switch. Yes. And it really just it goes back to whatever moment it was for you, like Nua at age 9, where in that moment he decided, I'm turning off my light. And then for 40 years, had a phobia to the light because of that.
He had a phobia of himself, of who he truly is. Just like all of us, right?
And it was a decision. I was just telling Sam in the bathroom, like, that it's not the ego that has all this power or that it's so tricky. It's that we decided to turn off the light, and then it's free game for the ego. I mean, you are literally choosing to give your power to the ego. That's what it is. And whenever it happened for you, it was just, okay, I'm protecting myself from this situation ever happening again. So you turn off your light, and then you're in an unconscious pattern of it constantly happening 24/7, 365, not even realizing it, because that's how twisted the ego is. If you decide to give up your power, it's just going to put you through the washer machine and find multiple ways of killing you while it's convincing you that it's protecting you.
Yeah, it's interesting because like no amount of force or personal development will get you out of that toxic program. And I know for a fact for me is like no matter how much I did, and Jamie's, he's talked about this so many times, it's like the personal development or the thousands of books I've read or the energy work or the plant medicine, aka plant drugs, or the whatever, the breath work. I was certified. I was helping people break free of their own toxic shit while I was living in my own, which is a lot of these spiritual, I'm sorry to say, but it's a lot of these quote unquote spiritual healers. They're trying to heal people while they're still like in their own toxic programs. And so it's like, as you start to ramp up and you start to get some momentum in your life, guess what? You just crash because that is the default program that you go back to. And so with our process here at I Am Divinity, you can finally be free. And it's an instant and a permanent transformation, like Don was saying in the video. The instant part happens in a moment when you decide that you will not go back into the old programs and that you will live in your divinity. The permanent piece is doing this divine focus that you've heard us talk about today. And so it's really, it just takes 10 minutes a day, and you basically interlock your fingers, you say I am, and you go into your light, you basically stay there. But now, I mean, at this point, I don't have to. Like, the other day we were at Buena Vista Island. I Am Divinity. We rented out a whole island, which is really cool, for Jamie's birthday. And I realized, like, hey, I don't need to even close my eyes to be in my divinity. I'm just walking around the island, and I'm noticing the trees, the wind, I just embracing this feeling, and I'm in this feeling, and I'm allowing it to just take over me, surrender to that feeling. And to kind of put it into a little bit in the human perspective, imagine every single one of your cells having like an orgasm. Literally, that's how it feels.
We tried to
Times
stop
10.
using that word.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Godgasm. God tingle.
Tingle. Full body tingle.
Full body tingle. Sorry, we're trying to keep it PG over here.
For the teenagers that know nothing about orgasms.
I mean, with freaking sex education, they're putting condoms up bananas. Oh, yeah.
Okay, we've gone too far.
Okay.
We're off track. But as Nua said, best feeling he's felt since age 9. So all it is, the divine focus is putting conscious attention on that, because for the last, in Nua's case, 40 years, he's been feeling the opposite of that. And so it's about putting conscious focus on it every day, or else unconsciously you're going to get taken out. So it's just charging up those batteries, right? Like, you got to plug your phone in every day or it's going to die. Yeah, that's what happens.
Yeah, and I used this analogy the other day. So the more you do your divine focus and the longer you do it, you're kind of creating like almost like an energy bubble. And there's no way that the ego can get in. You're just creating like a force field around yourself, and it's like you're just sitting in it. And it's interesting because when I was so spiritual, I was like, oh, I can't be around these low vibe people. Like, they're gonna bring me down.
In between joints.
Yeah, in between joints. I'm like, man, your vibe is killing me.
Chill out, man.
Chill out, man. High vibes, bro.
Yeah, pass the joint. God forbid you didn't have any weed that day.
I know, right? Just turned into
you
a
immediately
terror.
became the not chill vibe guy.
Yeah, right. It's so funny, but it's interesting because like I've heard that a lot. It's like, oh, like I don't like being around low vibe people, but with this, whenever you're operating at this frequency, you can be anywhere, around anyone, and actually you lift their energy up, and they can't do anything. Even if they're being mean or disgusting or whatever, it doesn't phase you. It doesn't affect you. And so this is the only protection that you have against all of the bullshit that's happening outside of you. This is the solution, whether it's the wars, right? Like the bullshit on the news, or the drama in your family, at work. Being in your divine focus is the only solution to your problems and to all of the other problems outside of you, which we talked about a little bit yesterday.
Isn't it amazing that the source and cause of all your problems and the planet's problems are you not being in your freaking light? Like,
let that sink in.
Like the universe stacked the odds in our favor for sure.
So yeah, want to see if anyone has any comments or questions, or before we I think you wanted to talk about the kind of the ways that the ego can trick you.
Oh yeah, we have a list here, the 20 tricks of the ego. Now remember, these are all symptoms of you not doing your divine focus, okay? But just so that you're aware of all the tricks that will pop up, so that when it does come up, you got a little ammo against it. So I'll just read them out. We got number 1, being in my I am divinity is not working. Yeah, the ego will use that one. Number 2, I don't have time to do my I am divinity exercise. Cough, cough, Nua. Just teasing you, buddy. Number 3, keeping track of the changes is a waste of time. Besides, there aren't any that I can see. Number 4, this is the one that helped me, because Don and I were so close at this point of my 3 major times I gave it away. Finding something wrong with Don to turn you against him and cut off the connection. Number 5, noticing what's wrong and thinking the very worst about anything. That is the ego. That's my mom telling me that someone messaged someone in our family and we're all going to get taken hostage and we're all going to die. I said, just give him my address and you'll be fine. Number 6, there it is, the threat of death, dying. Yeah, I've had many death threats since we turned the bright lights on here at I Am Divinity. It is dangerous being in my I Am Divinity. Number 7. Number 8, escalating anger, rage, or resentment towards someone or some situation. Number 9, I am fine now. I don't need to do those exercises anymore. That one got me just last year. Then when I woke up boozing with rippers, I realized, okay, I think I didn't do my divine focus. Number 10, I am not doing near as good as the others, and I am embarrassed, so I am going to quit.
Ooh, I feel like for some reason I'm getting a intuitive insight that that's probably something that some people are dealing with on this call, because I haven't heard much from a lot of you. So just know that that is the ego.
Number 11, I just blew everything out of proportion. The old patterns weren't near as bad as I thought. Yes, I remember when I was an alcoholic, but I was not an alcoholic. Number 12, I can't get out of my head to access my I am feeling senses of I am divinity.
I remember someone saying that the other day.
Yes.
I think
her name rhymes with Riffany, yeah, something like that. Number 13, that's actually a very common one. That's the intellectual. You've been in the intellect since whenever that trauma happened, because remember, it's protecting you from those painful feelings. So then it numbs your feeling your system.
Ifany, that also happened to me too. So it's not just you.
Yes, all of these happened to me 100 times more than they've happened to many of you. So, number 13. I don't fit in anywhere anymore, and I have no one that can relate to me or I can relate to them. Yes.
Now you have a whole community, so.
Yeah, we took that excuse away. I remember when I just had Don. That's why I stayed so close to him. Number 14, I am alone, and I need to go back to my old ways of doing things to fit in. Yes, I remember when my younger brother Chase flew out, and he was drinking every day. And finally, one day, okay, fine, I'll have one beer with him. Well, that turned into about 10, going to the Rippers and getting in a motorcycle crash. Where are we? 15. I don't deserve to be this joyful.
Sheesh,
That's a good one. I don't deserve to be this joyful. Nua, I'm gonna remind you that you had your and I did this myself. I'm not picking on you, but you had your eyes open, like, oh, has it been 10 minutes yet? Because this feeling is too great. I got to get out of this 10 minutes. Got to set my alarm to remind myself how to feel so freaking awesome. Number 16, I need to punish myself more for all the hurt I caused others. Yes, there's the guilt and shame. Number 17, my old self felt more comfortable. Number 18, I crave my old addiction to drama and chaos. Number 19, the unknown, unfamiliar, uncertain places are a dangerous place to be. And number 20, it's boring being in my I Am Divinity. Yeah. A lot less places to go to after midnight. A lot less bottles to drink.
Yeah, I don't really miss that. So
Tiffany has her hand up.
Yeah.
Please, Tiffany. Front of the class.
Love it.
And we'll send out this list, by the way, in the daily updates, where I trust all of you will be putting your updates. The Facebook chat. Tiffany needs to be unmuted, please. She's Nua's laughing at the Rippers.
The Rippers.
Yeah, the Rippers. We used to call that going to church.
Hallelujah.
Nua's shaking his head. We were laughing when Nua was out here because I was like, man, if all three of us were together in the Philippines in our old programs,
Oh no.
it would be absolute, just a
Mayhem.
war zone, just total, very dangerous. I said, Sam, I'm glad you came out here after we all got over that shit, because it would not be pretty. We're extremists, and it wouldn't have been in a good way. Janet says, I've heard about your party ways, Jamie. Ha ha ha. Yeah, I bet from Josh Quay that's still attached to his. Is that correct? She says, haha, yes. Yeah, of course.
Savage.
Yeah, no hiding anything at this level.
No.
Tiffany's still trying to get on. Unmute yourself, Tiffany. I don't know.
Tiffany.
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 Tiffany, where are you?
That sounds like the beginning of a horror movie, bro.
Do your divine focus, then you won't be afraid to die. Just kidding. Tiffany, you might want to call back in, like just exit and call back in. Huh? Okay, Rajesh, go ahead, sir.
Yeah. Hi there. Good morning.
Good morning.
This is my second time. I was here yesterday, and my second time today. And
We didn't scare you away yet. That's
That's
impressive.
good.
No,
That's awesome.
it's the cool jackets that you guys are wearing for sure.
It's the
Um,
jackets.
So I guess my question is like, what's
Sorry, go ahead.
so? Is it okay if I
Yeah, you're
continue?
good.
Oh, okay. Thank you. So what is the process to begin?
It's a great question. It's been 4 years since I did that. Sam, you want to help him out?
Yeah, sure. So it's really simple, actually. So with the actual IAMDIVINITY process, it starts off with you answering a couple of questions. We have a questionnaire. And then after that, you just go through this process with Don. Don is our mentor that's developed this process over the last 44 years. Like I don't know if you saw the video.
Yes.
So you'll go through, he'll ask you some questions. He'll basically get to the root cause of, like we said, there's one moment in time that is basically linked to all of the other moments in time that have been keeping you in these toxic cycles of whatever it might be.
Don't
you
give
know?
him too much ammo. Just tell him where to go get it.
Okay, so basically we have our portal that you can access all of this information, and you can actually have the process yourself. I'm not sure who invited you.
Janet invited me.
Janet invited you, so she'll.
Any friend of Janet's is a friend of ours. So it's real simple, Rajesh. We do roughly once a month, we do a live actual transformation with Dawn, and then we record them, and you can go through the whole process through the recording, and then you can also join us on the next live. But it's like about an hour and a half Zoom call, just like this. And he just brings the whole group. He usually uses 1 or 2 people as an example, brings the whole group through the process. It's a series of questions, helps you become aware of your moment, helps you uncreate that in a second, and boom, you're off to the races. Then you just do the holding exercise, which is 3 times a day, minimum 5 minutes.
Okay, so I come to the next live event, if I'm understanding that correctly.
Well, you can also do it on your own. Like we had, well, Gilbert actually didn't even do this, but usually what we have people do is there are 3 videos in the back office in the portal. There's an introduction, kind of, and then explaining like what it is, and then the actual process. so you can actually do it in the comfort of your home, your own time, your own pace, and just go through that like through the videos. And actually, this might be a good time. Maybe Gilbert, you can kind of explain a little bit of what you experienced, so you can give Rajesh a little bit more insight of what that looked like for you.
Okay. Yeah, sure. No problem. So I jumped on the 15th live call and they pretty much went over that process about holding it. And like, I didn't even know about that holding part, to be honest with you. I just went off of the 3 times a day, focusing on my light, and it was working for me. Like by the second day, all my thoughts were kind of removed. If I would have known about that video sooner, I would have jumped on it because I did review it. I think I reviewed it on my 14th day when I finally got my hands on it. But it started. I thought I had everything removed, and that video kind of like really helped strip even more of what I thought, so it just made me even lighter by going through it. So I personally would recommend anybody that does go through this process to hit up those 3 videos first that are on the back office. So that will definitely help strip most of all that chatter away. So because I didn't have that, I just went straight into it, and it worked for me. I guess it was my belief plus his beautiful process that created that sustained flow throughout the whole day. And then also, I'm pretty sure it has to do with their energy too. With just listening to them and hearing them, I'm pretty sure it like stripped a lot of layers just by being on the live call.
It's the pink and
Just,
purple suits. Let's be honest.
yeah,
That's all it
it's
is.
the their vibration. Be honest with you, it's intense, intensely beautiful. So, but the video, I'm telling you, if I would have known sooner, I would have jumped on that video sooner, so I wouldn't have had any, you know, extra weight that I didn't really feel because I felt like it stripped it until I did that third video. That third one, all 3 of them are important so you can get the psychology of what's happening during the process. But that third one, woo, woo, will make you feel like that after you're done with it, my friend. So whenever you're ready for your divinity, man, hop on whenever you get a chance. I highly recommend it.
Thanks, Gilbert.
Yeah, we didn't even have to pay you too much to do that. Thanks, Gilbert. So, Rajesh, Janet should have a link where it just links you into our membership portal, and then the videos are under I Am Divinity inside there.
Okay. So I'll wait for Janet to send me the links then.
Okay, my man. Well,
Awesome.
thanks for being with us, and I'm excited for you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Awesome. Cool. It's good to see some new faces. Want to continue to just keep it open for any questions or some comments or
Tiffany, you back yet?
yeah,
Can you
Tiffany, are
unmute?
you there?
Yep, the restart worked.
Hey, come on, just turn it on and off.
It was
I
just
learned
the
that
ego.
in Nintendo days.
Right, I
blowing his-
know.
Just blow on the cartridge. Worked every time. You go, girl.
Yeah, so there's been a couple of things that you guys have said today that is really big for me, and I feel like every day there's just some nugget that really helps. So for people who don't join every day, I'm like, oh, you're missing so much. But one of the things is you talking about, I don't remember who it was, but you said I think it was your mom, Jamie, that had the miscarriage before she was pregnant with you.
Yes, ma'am.
And I had the same thing. I had a miscarriage before I had my youngest son, and he is afraid of everyone dying and everything dying. And I asked him the other day, why do you think you have that? What fear do you think triggered that feeling? And he's like, he's 14, so he's like, I don't know. But you saying that made me like, oh, that's exactly it. So, well, it's probably it. But so I have a question. Do
Probably?
you think, yeah, no, that's it. But I have a question. Do you think that me just telling him that about it would help him like in explaining to him, like, I had this fear and you took it on, but before that you were just this like amazing light. And do you think that is a conversation to have with like a child who won't go through the process, of course?
Well, first of all, you shining as bright as you are now is already having a major impact on all of them. So kudos to you. And number two, it's not gonna hurt, right, to have that conversation.
Yeah.
The worst thing about it is that he'll understand it intellectually, but you know, not actually having the process to access it is a different story. Um, so we'll hold out for him actually watching the video with you. That would be cool. But yeah, I mean, talking about it it won't hurt, definitely.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I feel like somewhere maybe in his subconscious, it'll like connect and then it'll, yeah, help ease that fear. Um,
It's kind
Another
of like when
thing.
we went whitewater rafting the other day, and the rule number one was don't panic. And they told us
Mhm.
rule number one, if you fall out of the boat, rule number one, don't panic. And they told us like 18 different times. And then when Sam fell out of the boat, he definitely forgot rule number one, okay? Because in that moment,
Mhm.
it's that phobic response that is so much faster, your nervous system, so much faster than the intellect, right? The intellect is so slow compared to
Mhm.
that. So, but again, it's not going to hurt. If you think at this point the only way, you know, he'll get anything is for you to just talk to him about it, then I say go for it.
Yeah. Okay. And I mean, I talk to them about this stuff all the time, even though they roll their eyes or whatever. But I've always been this way, and they know that. And I know somewhere deep down, it's a part of them too. But they're, trying to be like, whatever, mom is weird, But I'm like, I don't care. I don't stop, and I know that somewhere it's catching on, especially because they're older now. So I have a 20-year-old, a 19-year-old, and the 14-year-old, and seeing like my two older kids going into adulthood, they all still live here. But seeing them go into their adulthood, and um and our daughter, she's engaged and has a baby, and her fiance lives here and the baby lives here. Well, obviously the baby lives here. But but anyway, seeing them go into like parenthood and adulthood with what I've always taught them, but they never, they thought it was like, yeah, whatever, mom, whatever. But I see it now coming out in them as like their character or like their values are, it's just, anyway, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but it's like I've always ingrained it in them, even though I felt like they weren't listening. But now seeing them make their own decisions and go that route, I can see now that it really does make a huge difference. Just like I'm just, I guess, talking to the parents, like just keep doing what you're doing because they are listening. But okay, the other thing that I wanted to say was um saying, can you still hear me right now?
Yes.
Loud and clear.
Okay. Okay. The like the light when the sperm and the egg hit, that, okay, so when you guys were playing the dawn video,
That is you.
I did another divine focus during that time because I felt like so talking on these calls is something that I've never wanted to do. I've always been so afraid to be called on, or um I don't know, like in the very beginning, just
Didn't
like
know that.
my throat would, I was just shivering and so afraid of, what, I don't know, just, is it going to come out right? Is it going to sound dumb? Am I going to not remember my words or whatever? But anyway, um, so I was feeling like that at the beginning of the call. And so when you guys played the dawn video, I did a divine focus thinking of that sperm and egg and that light. And that is so powerful. Like imagining that is so, so powerful. So just a recommendation, if people can't feel a light or whatever during divine focus, I think that's um, a great way to think of it. Um,
Hmm.
okay. And then I have a couple of, I guess, like updates or just stories, or I don't know.
Go for it.
Um, so the night before last, I had a dream that I was driving, and I was driving and my whole family was in the car, and I could hardly see. Like for some reason my head could like barely peek over the windshield, and the windshield was foggy and all the street signs were like turned away, and I needed to make a turn somewhere, but nothing made sense. And anyway, I felt like I was leading my family, but so unclear and so confused, and like I didn't know what to do. And in that dream, and so normally in my past life, I would have woken up and been like, okay, what did that dream mean? Obviously, there's something in there I need to work on and like go to the programs and the courses, and like I need to figure this out. And I just woke up and I did my divine focus, and it was just like done. And I knew like that's all. That's the end of that one. Um, and then, but the funny thing is, yesterday, so I woke up from that dream yesterday morning, and I went to like an hour later. I was going to a flower shop to do some flower deliveries for Valentine's Day. When I showed up to the shop, which I've worked out before, it was all closed up and dark, and a for sale sign was there. And I was like, oh my gosh, I just had this dream that like nothing made sense and I didn't know where to go. And, but I knew that, like, I didn't freak out. I just like giggled, like, oh, this is so funny that I just had this dream. And so just like patiently, like Google, like, okay, where's the new shop at? And I found my way. And then the other thing is that, so you guys know on my first transformation call, or no, this past transformation call, the question I had was about money and making more money. And so it seems like I've been searching for a way to make more money for a lot of years. I have a passive income that I have with a drug selling company that I work for. And, but besides that, like I always want more and more and more. But now I'm at a point where I'm still trying to find more, but without feeling like I have to hustle or like feel like I have to be in my masculine energy. And I'm letting my husband like take that part over. But anyway, I was doing my taxes yesterday, and I see that I spent at least $8,000 on things that I thought would help me grow, or courses, or like businesses, or, and the year before it was like $48,000. Anyway, and so now that all of that, I've like canceled so many memberships and like supplements, and anyway, I feel like I got at least an $8,000 raise this year. And like now I have, since I am not leaning to all those things and I need to buy this new thing and this new thing, like I feel like I got a raise, you know, of so much money. But then the other thing is I have been trying to get into this crypto world for a couple of years, and I just don't understand it. I need like cartoons to explain it to me, like a 5-year-old. And I haven't ever really like put the time in to find cartoons. I've just kind of been asking for help, and no one really helps. And so I've always been like, well, fine, no one wants to help me. You know, how am I supposed to learn this? I need a mentor, and nobody wants to help. Well, yesterday, Kirill, I think is that his name? He
Yes.
he sent me or it was the day before. He sent me a message, and he's just like, "Hey, do this, wire money in." And so he helped me with that little part. But as soon as the money hit my account, I just sat at my desk and started watching YouTube videos, all like animated, you know, whiteboard drawings explaining, you know, the Tuttle twins as a cartoon. And I feel like I have so much more of an understanding now, and I feel so excited and like so rich just knowing that like I can tap into this world, and I don't have to spend the money on all the things I didn't need before, and but I thought I needed. And anyway, so that's my share. That's where I'm at.
Well, that's amazing, Tiffany. Sounds like you've had a complete transformation from not wanting to share to sharing honestly, vulnerably, like basically like every single time. I mean, that's huge. And then the fact that the crypto world was like a little bit scary and intimidating, and now you're in it. I mean, that just goes to show, like, I mean, when you're in your divinity, nothing's really like impossible.
Yeah, it's really exciting. I'm so excited.
Very proud of you.
Kudos to you, Tiffany.
Thank you.
Some
Thank
an
you.
analogy came up for me when, as you were sharing, just how powerful that divine focus was. Literally, you said right before the call, like you're hiding, didn't want to share anything, and then did the divine focus during Dawn's video, which is 8 minutes, and now
Mhm.
you're pouring everything out to us, which is awesome. So it's literally like going back to that light switch, and what the divine focus is consciously flipping your light switch on because we've been unconsciously turning it off for so freaking long. You know? So and then another thing hit me when you were sharing about teaching your kids and them adopting it now. First is that words don't usually teach, it's the experience, but then they'll remember your words when they go through it. And that's why you see them integrating. But then the difference between teaching and telling versus showing, and you turning your light on so bright now is going to be 100, well, literally at least 70 million times more influential, which is absolutely amazing. So just the influence that you have on your children, they automatically pick it up energetically, right? Because again, it's one thing to intellectually get the words, and it's another when you're energetically they can feel it, and you're showing them. Big difference.
Yeah, it is a big difference. And another thing that I've noticed is that usually before, when I would like learn something new and I would feel high from that, I would want to just go on Facebook or go to my my communities and just be like, hey, you guys, you can do this too. And I used to be super codependent and always trying to fix everyone else because it made it where I didn't have to fix myself, you know? And so that was my pattern, is just going like, hey, I can teach you something new, and you could heal, and you could be, you know, you could feel high like I do. And now that I feel like I'm really in my light, like truly, it's not some made up thing, I don't feel like I need to share it with anyone. And I feel like, yeah, like you're saying, that it'll just show up and they'll just feel it if it's meant to be felt. Or yeah, I don't know. I just don't need to, I don't need to blast it, you know, and fix everyone else. I feel like I can just do that, like you're saying. Um, you know, it helps 70 million when you're at 700. I feel like, yeah, I can just do that without having to, like, you know, blast it out and tell everyone that you need to do this. And yeah.
I think that's a really good shift. It's like actually being in your life versus the false dopamine hits you get from validation,
Mhm.
right? Like I
Yeah.
totally get that. Like I was definitely a people pleaser and was seeking validation by helping other people. But there's really nothing you could do that's more impactful than being in your light. Like automatically, you're helping way more than whatever piece of information you give them.
I did that a lot before too, and it was like you're externally seeking my worth. So based on their
Yeah.
reactions or based on them telling me how smart I am, that was the worth that I was externally seeking because didn't have any inside when my light was turned off.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is for me too. And it's, so the business that I'm in is helping people heal, basically. And I wanted it so bad for them, but so many people didn't want it. And my husband would always tell me, like, you can't make them heal. And it just frustrated me so much that, and I'm just like you, Jamie, like if they showed 5%, I went 1,000% in, like, okay, let's do this, you know, but they were never committed. And it burned me out so fast. And I did the business I think it's like, I've been doing it for like 13, 14 years now, but I gave up after like 6 years because I still make a passive income from it. But I gave up after like 6 years because I was just so tired of that, like being burnt out. But I didn't realize it was me. I thought it was everyone else. I went into, well, everyone's so dumb. They don't know. They don't know what I know. And I can't be around anyone because, I don't know, it's just this like better than attitude, which, yeah, I thought was fine but now I totally see it all. And yeah, I'm glad to be where I'm at now. It feels so much more humble.
That's amazing. Yeah, the ego, it's that superior inferior thing. So it'll just go back and forth between they're not good enough, you're not good enough, and there's no end to that. But
Yeah.
and as you said that, it was like reflecting on my journey before. It was like when I way more committed for them than they were for themselves. But then I was doing what you were saying too, which is I wasn't 100% committed to me. So I was using fixing them as a distraction to not go within myself, right?
Yep, exactly.
Janet has her hand raised.
Janet has her hand up. You go ahead, Janet.
Hello, Janet.
Hi. I actually don't know what I'm gonna say because I always
That's
don't put
beautiful.
up my hand because it was like I gotta make sure I say something so they'll get something out of it, and I'm not hyper like Gilbert. I don't have that high like him physically.
Woo-woo!
Internally, I do. But yeah, life's just different. And I hung out with, I guess, last night with some humans, and yeah, I don't know. I don't even know what to say, but being in divinity now truly versus intellectually, like I really got the difference. Because I was still trying to figure it out. I was still questioning everything. I was still analyzing everything. And like I want to actually not practice, do the process. Like, oh, I gotta get home and just do it. So it makes a world of a difference once you really surrender and let go of it intellectually. And yeah, and I like ended up realizing the connectedness and love and why I always guys, like it's so interesting. It's like why do I always choose guys that don't have money? Because it makes me feel wanted, right? It's like, oh yeah, I'll pay for dinner. I don't need like it's so silly. But it's been like and dating guys with addictions and things like that, it's because it made me feel wanted. So to break free from that and to break all like any kind of relationships that had to do with that programming has truly been liberating. And then the ego comes back and yeah and was like, oh no, did you break it off in a proper way? Like, are you complete with things? And you start questioning things and yeah, it gets really tricky. And when you do the divinity, everything just goes blank and you're kind of, I was like, am I numb? Am I numb from being suppressed or am I in my divinity? um But yeah, I think that's all I had to share. I don't know.
Well, I think that's very, very powerful. The fact that you're able to recognize that and you're like, hey, like this is the old programming that I was operating in, and just seeing the difference is like, okay, I was doing this because I was seeking my worth and love through other people rather than actually wanting a genuine connection with that person. And so I think that's really powerful. I'm sure someone probably needed to hear that too. And yes, I think yeah, continue to be in your light. You're gonna
I love your divine laugh, Janet.
Thanks. I don't know how it sounds like, but
That's awesome.
But yeah, I mean, being in your I totally relate with that as well, Janet. So yeah, just being in your divinity, there's nothing else that you really need outside of you. It's just, what happens. And the ego definitely has a funny way of like, oh, did you do it? Are you sure you sure you want to do this? Blah, blah, blah. It's like, yes. Like there's nothing I want other than being putting my divinity number one, and everything else falls into place after that. So
It only does that in between divine focuses. So remember the 3 times a day is a minimum. Don got it down to like the absolute bare minimum of what they right, and then we still find a way to. Well, he said 3, so but if I do 2, and if I do like 20 minutes each, then the third one isn't really necessary. Like we play that game. But yeah, it's like really committing and surrendering to that full process of the divine focus. And just like anytime something comes up, you know, yesterday was a big one for me when mom was reaching out, being like, our whole family's going to get taken hostage because of you. And I'm like, okay, time for a fourth divine focus of the day. You know? So yeah, like what an amazing tool that literally you can turn on the light at any point if anything's taking you off. And yeah, it's what a gift. What a gift.
Thank
It's so
you.
cool that we have so many of us actually fully embracing our light.
Right?
So cool.
I remember Jamie was like, I was still in an intellectual kind of understanding of it. I would kind of go in and out of actually being in my light and then intellectually
Up until
understanding
about
it.
last week.
So this is in Bali. So I was in Bali and I'm like, dude, like I feel so lonely, you know, like, because I had done the process over a year ago and then I was attempting to hold it
In between joints.
in between. No, I was actually free of the joints at that point. Forcibly, I kind of had to. But yeah, I was sitting in Bali by myself. Like, I mean, I wasn't going out to party or anything, which I haven't really done in the last few years. But I'm like, dude, like it's so lonely trying to be doing this on my own. But now we have a whole community, and it's like every single night we're here, even though we're all in different parts of the world, we are able to connect with all of you beautiful souls, and it's just honestly so amazing to just have this community and have the support, and you know we're all here for one another, and you know where you're gonna find us every single night at IAMDIVINITY Studios, 11 p.m. Philippines time.
It's so powerful. Like anyone new jumping on this call, I can only imagine where it's like you're hearing one after another and you're seeing and feeling these people that have fully embraced your light. Like if one person in their light gives however many permission to be in their light, like imagine getting on these calls and there's just so many of us just fully in it, where it's like, holy shit, like this doesn't exist anywhere else.
With that being said, who's excited for our event in April? If you're excited, drop an I am in the chat because we're looking forward to have you all in person.
Yes, Janet will be here. I know that.
We only want the people that are 100%.
Powell, Michael, Vanessa, William. Vanessa says, "Can you tell us more?" So actually, Janet, I didn't know this until after we went, but we went to that Discovery Resort. We brought Dawn. It was a couple weeks after you flew in, Janet, to work with Dawn one-on-one. And Dawn,
she's the one that works
yeah,
there?
yeah.
Oh,
And Dawn was
snaps.
like, I think I've been here before. You know? And then we realized it was where you stayed, Janet. So why don't you share for the people on the call that haven't been out here, and especially at Discovery, because we're going to be doing the next event most likely at Discovery. If we're still waiting to hear back from the King Dome. They apparently are taking up a little more time for construction, even though it's been 12 years. So they're doing their thing, but we're like, you know what? That's not going to stop us. Let's throw an in-between event, because the Discovery, beautiful resort, white sandy beach on the island, and it's got 1,000-person convention room. So we could at least do a pretty sweet, VIP type event. But Janet, if you want to share with everyone some of your experience at coming to the Discovery, that would be cool to hear.
Okay, yeah, well, just getting to Dawn, that was an interesting experience. So I used to be a flight attendant, so I've mastered the art of traveling. I've always made it just in time, right before the last person gets into the plane. Anyways, so I was flying from Dubai to Manila to meet Dawn for the first time, and I was at the airport, I was at the lounge. I was just walking casually to my gate, and the lady's like, "Are you Trang Mai?" And I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "If I were you, run." And I just ran to my gate. It was 12:39. My flight's at 1 p.m. and they're gone. And it was the weirdest thing. And I was like, okay, just calm down. Let's go figure it out. And I called my airline and everything. The guy was dealing with it. And they basically marked me as a no-show. I don't get any money back. And that was it. Like I was so pissed. then a few hours later, I tried to come down, and he eventually found me another flight. So instead of having an 8-hour flight, it took 24 hours. Get to Manila, things were looking up, and then I sat right near the gate to make sure I didn't miss it, had one headphone in, one out, and I lined up for the wrong door. Like I already missed my flight at 12, but I was lining up for a 1 o'clock flight. It was so weird. So instead of flying that 2-hour flight to Davao, now I have to wait for 5 hours to catch the next flight. So it was like 24 hours later. And then I get to the airport and Don doesn't pick up. He's like, I'll come to, I'll be outside when you land. Called him so many times. I started panicking, and thank God Jamie replied me. But it was such an interesting experience because I've never dealt with trying to meet someone and it taking so many hurdles to get over something that is usually so simple for me. And then I started to question myself, is he a human trafficker? Like, am I safe? Like, I actually don't even know this guy. Like, who knows, right? And so, oh my goodness, it was yeah. And then once I finally got to meet Don, thanks to Jamie, I got to Davao. I mean, I got to, yeah, Discovery, Samo Island, and it was it's such a beautiful place. It was my first time in the Philippines, actually. And the beach and everything was just, it's so magical. I literally floated in the ocean probably 10 hours per day. And that's where Dawn did the process with me on the ocean.
Wow.
Yeah, I got to do the process with Dawn on the ocean. And so, mind you, now that when I look back, yeah, I got to have such amazing conversations with Dawn. And there were just points where you didn't even have to talk to Dawn. You could just like sit there and look in his eyes and you'll just feel his light. You know, like I've never met somebody who just has tears in his eyes from true freedom, true liberation, true happiness. And that's where I was like, I don't know what you are, but I want what you have. You know, every time when I see somebody who has something that I don't have, like I want it, and I'm committed to having that. And yeah, I got to do the process with Dawn, and at one point after that, when he was gone, I couldn't even think of anything. Like I tried to think about things I had to do for work or something like that. And I even said, think of something. I was like, oh, I can't. Okay, let's just go float then. And that was kind of my experience, yeah, meeting Dawn in person. And yeah, I didn't get to go to Divinity Mountain because I was still integrating the next day. I was like sleeping a lot, but unfortunately I didn't get to go. But April.
That's so awesome, Janet. I remember meeting Dawn for the first time too, and it was just like, who the heck is this guy? Like I could just see the light with like just seeing how it was different because like no one else that I had ever met, and I'd met some, you know, the top gurus and all the, you know, big time people, very successful, but didn't have the glow that Dawn had. It was just like, what the heck? And it just attracted me so much, you know, like a mosquito on the light in the middle of the night. And well, I'm so and I'll share on maybe tomorrow on all the knot holes I had to get through to get to Dawn, but it was similar to what you were saying, you know, the many different attempts and misses, and it's like that's how powerful we are, because we were giving all of our power to the ego, and definitely used it against us. But glad you made it, my dear.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, so awesome, and excited to have you back here in April.
We'll be finalizing the dates and everything. But you definitely do not want to miss it, obviously for the process, but Discovery is absolutely amazing. I mean, it's a 5-star resort here on the island of Samal. Super beautiful. The vibe is just so amazing. I mean, Will and I and Jamie, we went there like, what was it, like 4 weeks ago?
Yep.
And it was crazy because me and Will were sitting there doing our divine focus, and you know, like we get into it and it starts getting really intense, and then the ocean starts to go like crazy, and then we just look at each other, we're like, we did that. And that'll probably go over some of the new people's heads, but yes, you are that powerful that things around you, I mean, really all around the world, shift when you shift into your light. And that is how powerful you are. And that is the limitless potential that you have. And so we're here to help you remember that. Get back to go. We're helping you get from the beliefs of who you are, whether it's positive or negative, whether, like a lot of the times with personal development, you're going from, oh, I'm not worthy of this to I am worthy, which is, maybe a little step up, but it still keeps you in the toxic cycles. Whenever you tap into your divinity, you go to the absolute knowing. There is no doubt. There is only certainty and a knowing of this limitless potential that you are. And so if you are wanting true freedom, you need to be at our next event. And we'll drop more details here as soon as we figure all of that out.
Speaking of the knowing, there's literally no thinking in the knowing. So and just pick something like what you had for breakfast today. Like
Forgot.
like do you believe what you had for breakfast today, or do you know what you freaking had for breakfast? So just imagine you're living in the unknown all the time, but you have that knowing, just like what you had for breakfast. You know exactly what happened. Like that's that state. And for those of you in the divine focus, that there's just, like you've been saying, a few of you in different words, there was just no thoughts, there was no chatter, there was no, right? That's the thinking, which is so much slower. Like going back to Sam jump out of the white water raft, the response of his entire being, a lot faster than, what was rule number 1 again? Oh yeah, don't panic. Okay, so we'll be calm. Like it's just so slow. And Don brings up another amazing example. He coined his own sport. It's called boulder jogging, which is these big rocks by the ocean, like massive boulders, and he literally jogs on them. And I've done it a few times with him. And talk about not being able to use your intellect or your thinking, like, because you're jumping from rock to rock, and you're jumping like as you're landing on the last one, with no pause, no nothing. And if you stop to think or like doubt or worry, you end up biffing it. Like you end up slipping or missing the next rock or hurting yourself in some way. So that's a perfect example of like the thinking versus the knowing. But yeah, be there. Tiffany's saying, is there a way to get cheaper flights? So I've always used Kayak because they look up like all the sites, and I've been getting flights from the U.S. like Nua's was, what was it? It was under $1,000 each way, right? Remember? It was about $1,000 each way, and that was on one ways. So usually, if you do a return, you can get a little better. But I'm not entirely closed off to the idea of doing an event in Mexico. I know that's closer for a lot of you. But we're just getting like so comfy here in the Philippines.
It's
Dude.
pretty
such
awesome
a good foundation here, and I've lived in Mexico for so long. Like it would be quite a sacrifice.
Yeah.
Not saying you guys aren't worth it, but if I was to put my divinity number 1, then we'll see you in the Philippines.
Yeah, Josh would be like telling us to come to Colombia, but
Yeah, Josh,
we're not doing
Colombian
that.
program. Yeah, the culture of Filipinos and everything is just such a perfect match to the divinity as well. So anyway, I trust. Well, Tiffany, with that minimum $8,000, you're going to save that this year without buying any of those old programs. I related a lot with that because I did everything under the sun before Dawn's program. It was like I would buy things and pay for them and not even go to the event, because I had just was buying so much of them. It was almost like I got a hit of worth, a dopamine hit just for buying it, and then actually like going through it was another deal. And I would, of course, if it was going to work at all, then I would have to find a way to sabotage it. So yeah, what a waste of time and money and energy for sure on all those different programs. And I used to read multiple books at a time, like every week. And I haven't done any of that since Don's program. So yeah, like the amount that it's freed up. I mean, the masterminds and stuff I used to be a part of, that looking back, I'm like, there's not one thing I could get from there anymore. Like,
I feel that so much. Whether it's the books, the programs, or even like supplements and stuff like that, like buying products because I wanted to feel good. Now I take a supplement, I'm like, dude, this is like taking me out of my divinity.
Yeah.
Like, what
true.
the heck? Like,
Yeah.
I don't need anything. And it's really interesting because, I mean, this whole system is based off of consumerism and getting you to trade your attention, your dollars for some worth and for some love, really. But then it's like, okay, if I'm in my divinity, I really don't need anything outside of me. And it's crazy because we're literally living it. We're sleeping like minimal. Like maybe the last 2 days we've caught up on some sleep, but like most days, 2 to 4 hours, and we're like up and at it. So
Yeah, it was my Valentine's gift to me and Nina. We get to go back to sleep. So yeah, when you're 100% full, you're not hungry or thirsty. You don't need anything, right? That's the deal. So that's what we're here. That's what we're doing, what we're given, what we're experiencing. And thanks for all of you to be here with us, because it makes it just 10 times more fun and powerful for everyone coming in. Like just such a bright light that's attracting everyone right now. So cool.
yeah, it's awesome to hear all you guys' updates. So keep them up. Keep sharing in the chat. What do we have in the chat right here? What are they saying?
I think Cola wants to speak something.
Oh yeah, I did see Cola say something about the what to think about during the divine focus. So again, it's not a thinking system, right? You're accessing and tracing the feeling, whether it's the best moment that you've ever had in your life, or the moment that you went through the transformation with Dawn. That was the one that I recalled, because like Nua, mine was I couldn't recall anything other than like being an infant. Like even then I couldn't access it. So yeah, for me it was right after the process with Dawn, that feeling, that state. That's what you're looking for. It's not about thinking.
And if anything, the thinking is what's keeping you out of going into this state. And that was what Jamie told me, because I was like, okay, so I keep repeating I am. And he's like, no. He's like, you need to focus on the feeling. And as soon as I actually shifted from like trying to focus, because that's how meditation works, right? Like oh, I need to clear my mind and all this stuff. I have a perfect environment and all this stuff. And it's funny because now I'll just, even like I'm at the mall, I'm like in front of I'm like waiting for it to be seated. I'm outside doing my divine focus, and there's like a billion things going on. Try to meditate when you're at a mall, right? Like you need to have the perfect conditions and all this stuff. But with the divine focus, you can be walking with your eyes open once you get to a certain level, or you can just do it in any place around anyone.
Yeah,
just
you're
by
just
focusing
consciously pulling up that feeling. And it is the intellect that protected you from accessing that for all those years. So I understand it's tough to recall for many of you, but going through the process is what's going to do it. So if you're having a tough time recalling it, like Tiffany was, then there's a surrender piece that's not happening in the process, and you want to just go back and go through the process again. So okay, we're over time again. Awesome, just because we're enjoying this so much. And are we gonna do the onboarding? Yes. Can we? Okay, so we'll put the onboarding link in the chat here. Will. And for those of you who need help into the membership portal, by the way, the crypto fund, any day now, Bitcoin actually just hit 52,000 today.
Oh, sheesh.
And that's the indicator that Josh, who's managing our crypto fund, was looking for. So any day he's going to close the crypto fund. He's just looking for it to hold above 52. And Will can help you get involved on that. And That's it
Yep.
for now. Yeah, we'll see
We'll
you
see you
tomorrow.
tomorrow, 11 p.m. Philippines time, 10 a.m. Eastern. We love you guys. Thank you for being the best part about this community. This is why we show up. This is why we show up every single night. Wouldn't want to be doing anything else. No rippers or nothing like that.
I better do my divine focus before we head there.
We love you guys. I am Divinity, and so are you.